Hi everyone, it's Sarah here. I'm so happy to be back with you today sharing a layout for my 2020 Project Life album. I'm going to be working through these two 9 by 12 pages, so I'd love it if you want to grab whatever memory keeping project you're currently working on so we can go ahead and work alongside each other. I've chosen to work in a slightly larger album this year. I've used 6 by 12 albums for the last few years, and I even did my 2015 Project Life in a 6 by 8 album, so a lot smaller. I decided to just go with something a little bit different this year. I'm still kind of adjusting to the larger size. It's definitely a little bit harder to fit these pages on my workspace, especially while I'm filming, but I also love having that extra space for more photos and some of the cards that I've been holding on to for the last few years. So I went through my stash of Kelly Perky cards and I pulled a bunch of those to use on this layout. And the first thing that I wanted to tackle here was the two 4x6 photos that you see there. It's kind of a trio of photos in each of those pockets. I had taken a bunch of kind of snapshots at the Getty Center. Me and my husband went there for Valentine's Day, and I was trying to get just a natural photo of him, and he caught me taking a photo and then just kind of did all these goofy poses and then got me in on the action and took some photos of me doing all these goofy poses as well. So that was really fun to kind of add into the album, and I wanted to get a few of each of us, so I just sized them down so they could fit on a 4x6 canvas. But when I printed those, they actually came out off center, so I went ahead and I just cut them out, and then I am adhering them down to some white cardstock here so I can get them centered and exactly where I want them. And then I had some white space at the bottom of both of those, so I'm going to go in and do some stamping and some embellishing and add in some washi tape. I'm using this older Studio Calico stamp set. There was a sentiment that said, "Be wild, have fun," and then another sentiment that says, "Normal is overrated," and I felt like those were just perfect for these photos. And I love that stamp set. I've gone back to that quite a few times to use it on other projects. And then for this trio of photos of myself, I'm going to pull out this stamp set that In a Creative Bubble designed. I think this was offered from Feed Your Craft. I don't know if it's in her shop any longer, but I chose the sentiment that says "A Little Adventure Around Town," and I stamped that below the photos, and I'm going to come back and embellish this a little bit more later on. So I'm going to add that strip of washi tape. This is washi tape from Felicity Jane. I love that black and white buffalo check. And then I'm going to move on to this photo of what I was reading at the time. Totally recommend this book if you're looking for a good memoir. I'm trying to read more nonfiction this year, so this was a really good one. It's called Brain on Fire. But I just took a snapshot of my Kindle since that's how I'm kind of reading most of my books these days. And I'm going in with a stamp set from Studio Calico. This is one of my favorite book stamp sets. There are so many options out there and I love them all, but this one has so many fun, cheeky phrases, and they're just really fun to use on your projects. So I stamped out one that says "I read past my bedtime," and then I'm also going to use "Bookmarks are for quitters." I just think that's so cute. So I'm going to stamp both of those on there, and I'm just going to have that colorful stripe pattern just kind of peek out from the side of the book. I have a lot of people ask me what I stamp things that I'm adding into my traveler's notebooks and my cards, I actually stamp on regular printer paper most of the time. I used to stamp on cardstock, but it just kind of added some unnecessary bulk to my projects. So I now use regular printer paper, just because I also have so many scraps of that. Whenever I print out my journaling, I always have leftovers, and so I try to keep even the small pieces so I can use them up for these little embellishments that I end up stamping out. This is another Studio Calico stamp set that is love themed. I think this came out in January, and that sentiment says I love you 3000. And then I also got this little camera with the heart in it, and just keeping it simple. I love finding those little areas on photos that are perfect for stamping, the ones where you don't have too many subjects and you have a little bit of negative space. Those are always my favorite photos to add some embellishments or stamps to. And then I'm going to move on to the right page here. I feel like I'm just going to give you guys all of my recommendations in this video. This photo is of chili onion crunch from Trader Joe's. This is so random, you guys. But if you're looking for a good spread to add to your sandwiches, if you want to kind of give up mayo, this is a really good option. It's a little bit spicy, a little bit crunchy, and I love it for my sandwiches, although fair warning that your breath is going to be very smelly afterwards. So anyways, just randomness, but I grabbed an old Kelly Perky stamp for that and stamped out Happy Belly and In the Kitchen. I don't think that stamp set is available anymore, but that is a good one. And then I'm going back to this stamp set, and I had two smaller square photos of my daughter at the park that I had planned to use in my traveler's notebook, but I didn't end up using them, so I'm just adding them to my Project Life album. And I'm just kind of creating a little, I don't know, collage, just some stamping with the photos. I'm gonna add some of these circle stamps to these Kelly Perky labels. The one thing about this, I feel like I've stamped using the Studio Calico dye ink on these types of labels and they've been fine, but for some reason they didn't smudge. I mean, I was careful not to touch the ink after I stamped it on there, but it kind of, what is the word? It kind of spread out over the course of when I was finishing up this page. So you're gonna see it just kind of bled. It bled to other areas of the label. So it kind of created a fuzzy image. So I'm actually gonna go back and stamp those on some white paper and then punch those out and add it on top of the blurred image, if that makes sense. If not, you're gonna see in a minute what I end up doing here. So now that I finish up those cards, I'm just kind of looking through again and just seeing if there's anything better that I want to use here. I really like that black border on that 3x4 card. It brings in a little bit more of the contrast from the other areas of the page. I have that photo of my husband and, well, actually all three of us in the right middle section, that really dark photo. We had done FaceTime and it was really dark where he was and really light where we were. So I couldn't really adjust that too much. So I have a very dark photo, but I really wanted to use that here. And so I just needed to kind of bring in some of that black contrast to other areas of this spread. So I stamped out that little thumbs up on another label. And so that's another one that I'm going to end up having to kind of redo or just put something over it. So I'm adding just some regular white cardstock behind that really dark photo. And I'm gonna add a little arrow because it's really hard to see me and my daughter up in that top right hand corner. So I wanted something to kind of make that stand out a little bit more. they were just making funny faces at each other. So I wanted to make sure that your eye is kind of drawn to both of those photos. And then I'm just going through some of my chipboard embellishments. I'm going to go through some of my stickers, just trying to use up what I can of my stash. That is definitely a goal of mine this year. I'm trying to get rid of a bunch of stuff, donate stuff, and use up anything that I have, just so I have less. I don't know, it's always a goal of mine to be more minimal and have less stuff to go through. And I just feel a little bit more inspired when I have less. So I'm just going to go ahead and add a few more details to my journaling cards and just finish going through my embellishments to add a few things here and there. And then I am going to rearrange a couple of the cards to just kind of balance out some of the color on the layout. So you'll see that in the final photos and the close-up photos at the end of this video. But I would love to know what projects you're working on this year and how you're documenting 2020. I've seen a lot of people using the Happy Planner to do project life as opposed to Pocket Pages. So I'm just curious. I'm curious what you're kind of working on this year. So let me know down below, and give this video a thumbs up if you would like to see more of these process videos in the future. And please consider hitting that red subscribe button if you want to make sure that you don't miss out on any future videos. But that's going to do it for today. Thank you so much as always for stopping by my channel to check out my videos. I hope you enjoyed seeing how this page came together, and I will see you again very soon. Bye.